Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a Puerto Rican podcast talking about Star Wars and other nerd related media. Today, we have a very special episode. It's a very short one, but it's still a very, very special episode where we will be talking about Young Jedi Adventures. Not a show that we would have necessarily have covered thoroughly here, since it's for a different target demographic, a younger audience. We are not that target demographic, but a really cool show nonetheless for everyone who has been on the internet. Everyone is now aware of the Nubs phenomenon, hashtag Nubs Nation, one of the cutest new Star Wars characters to hit the franchise ever since Baby Yoda or Grogu. And as we all well know, that character is voiced by the legendary D. Bradley Baker, who is, of course, known to all Star Wars fans from his work from the Clone Wars, voicing not only Rex, but a plethora of clone troopers, but most recently, the Bad Batch, where he voiced the whole of the Bad Batch and was basically playing off of himself. Well, it's interesting now to see him in a brand new role where he is doing something much more lighter than the Bad Batch, because as we all know from that season finale or series finale that just finished this year, it was a particularly dark show. But the Young Jedi Adventures is one of the new animated shows that Disney and Lucasfilm have been putting out. It just came out yesterday, August 14th, exclusively on Disney Plus. It's the second season, and it kind of follows along the Acolyte in a way because it's set in the High Republic, which is 200 years before the Phantom Menace. And now with season 2, we continue the adventures of Jedi younglings Kay Brightstar, Lai Soleil, and Nubs as they study the ways of the Force, explore the galaxy, and help citizens and creatures that need to learn valuable skills needed to become Jedi along the way. This season, though, we see that the younglings continue their training and embark on even bigger missions across the galaxy. Helping to lead the younglings in these missions is Master Zia's new Padawan, Wes Vinnick, and his astromech ROM1. As they continue their training and grow in the ways of the Force, the young Jedi will travel to new planets with new and old friends and encounter adversaries like the Gangles, who are growing in their pirate ranks. Uh, going to be 11 episodes, which are dropping on Disney Plus, like I just said. But we're very, very privileged to join another great group of fan creators uh, from Full of Sith, Jedi News, Star Wars Explained, Talking Bay 94, The Resistance Broadcast, and of course, yours truly. And like I said, we will be talking to D. Bradley Baker, who is one of the most preeminent voice actors in Hollywood, boasting a 3-decade career that encompasses television, film, and video game. And for all of you millennials out there that watched Nickelodeon growing up, you'll be shocked to know or already know, but one of my favorite fun facts about D. Bradley is that he was the rock god Olmec in Legends of the Hidden Temple, which is pretty amazing. And like I've said, he's a legend in the Star Wars community, but he's also worked on Phineas and Ferb. He's worked on, like I said, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and so many more shows, films, video games, and everything. The man is a certified legend. But like I said, today's gonna be short. You're just gonna go into the roundtable interview and see like all the questions that we had for D, and D was amazing, had really insightful answers, and really engaged with us. So it was a very, very joyful and motivating interview, and I hope that everyone enjoys it. So without further ado, here is our roundtable interview with D. Bradley Baker.
Hello, D. This is
Hey again, Brian.
Brian with Full of Sith, and I'm joined by my son Kingston, who is a huge Young Jedi Adventures nerd.
Hey, Kingston.
um, and the first thing we wanted to ask you is just it seems like there's probably some difficulty there in playing a character who's speaking not English, but communicating that way. It reminded me a little bit of Chaplin's sort of song and dance in modern times,
Yeah.
and wondering if you could talk about that.
Yeah, there's a lot about animation because it's very visual. and it needs to be clear. It needs to be very relatable, and that to me tracks back to vaudeville. It tracks back to like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Harold Lloyd. I was just starting to watch some of his stuff this past weekend, but it's that clarity of storytelling that is it's very human, it's very smart, and it's good theater because it connects and because it's clear. And that's very much what you've got at play in a series like Young Jedi, where the storytelling, because of the format, is necessarily it's time constrained, right? Just like the old uh, uh, silent movies were. Is you had like 10 or 20 minutes maybe, and that was all you had to tell your story. Um, they got longer and longer eventually, but it started out as a very economic way of telling a story, which that kind of continued its way on into the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes stuff, and then into what you have now, which are these little gems of stories that are they're very quick, but it's the full story with the full range of emotion that plays out. And so the important thing is to, as always, is you've got to have good writing, and it's got to be clean and clear what the story is, with a beginning and a middle and an end. That is something that well, you can track it back to Aristotle if you want, but that's something that you very much had back in the days of vaudeville and silent pictures, and it's still that kind of tradition of storytelling, of clarity and economy, is still very much in play.
Hi Dee,
James,
good to see
hello.
you again.
Hello again.
Hi, we've been talking for 15 years now, and your vast array of voices never ceases to amaze me.
Thank you.
And what I'm wondering, how do you bank them? Do you have an encyclopedic memory that each voice, each character's got its own tone and way about it? Because we've seen you before that you can just turn any character on almost instantly. So how do you compartmentalize that? If that makes sense.
Well, sometimes I can't remember what I did, and I need to have the engineer play it back. But a lot of the times, creating a character is like it's like setting up a campsite on a river um, that may be remote. But when you set up that campsite, there's it faces a certain way. You know where the woods are. You know where the water is. The road is up this way. Over here is a good source of kindling, and you just kind of have this familiarity with how that lives. So that if you come back in a year or two, it's like, oh, I remember this space, and it all just kind of jumps back because it was this place that you lived, right? And it has all these kind of practical realities that suggest from the site itself. And so I look at a character like that, that it's like a campsite that I have set up that is familiar to me once I can start to see it. That there's ways that this character behaves, the way that the placing of the sound, the pace of it, all of that is kind of contained in the original creation of the character, that still, it's like it sits on a shelf or something in my mind. And in the case of, like, I mean, the extreme case would be the Bad Batch, where I'm playing very different characters, but they're all in the same story, in the same kind of shell, if you will. And it became that they were all so very familiar to me that I could just jump from one to the other, and we just read straight through the scene, so that they're different people. And so it seems odd, but that's how it feels to me. It's just because these characters are so different and specific in this kind of universe that each of them inhabits, that it's easy to kind of jump back in many cases, just jump right back into what that character is.
Hi, this is Alex from Star Wars Explained.
Hey, Alex.
Hi. So the characters of the Young Jedi Adventures in season 2, they're growing up, they've got their mission robes, younglings are looking up to them. We also see evidence of an older Puba Jedi named Barabo. So I'm wondering if you've thought at all about what Nubs will sound like as he gets older. Basically, what does a Puba sound like after they've gone through puberty?
Now you are setting it up just to tee up that wordplay there. That, and I see what you did, and my Star Wars helmet is off to you.
I appreciate
Yes. Well, I can't speak too specifically about it, but I would say that if you're interested in what a grown-up Pooba sounds like, then stay tuned. Stay tuned. Hey,
I'm
Brandon.
Brandon with Talking Bay 94. There's such a vast array of Star Wars sounds and alien languages going all the way back to 77 with Ben Burt. You're such a huge part of that legacy now, and Nubs and the Poobian language fit right into that legacy. Are there any classic Star Wars characters or sounds or aliens that you're itching to portray that you haven't had a chance to just yet?
You know what? I mean, as you say that, I think it was one of the things that just struck me between the eyes. It just knocked me out of my seat when I was a kid watching Episode 4. Was when you're in the cantina, which of course, all these aliens and stuff. I just went completely nuts for that. But when Han Solo sits down with Greedo, and Greedo starts talking with subtitles, I was just like, there's subtitles because he's speaking another language. And so that blew my mind. So I think it would be really fun to be another character like that requires. There's something magical about subtitles to me that I don't know why, but I just love it. And ultimately, the way that we do creature sounds now, like with Nubs, for instance, is that you could do it with subtitles if you wanted, but with the specificity of the performance that I'm bringing, hopefully, in addition to what my fellow scene mates are saying around me, pretty much exactly what Nubs is saying, and that's always the goal with any kind of creature or non-speaking word performance, is that there's a clarity to what is being said, so that the audience understands it. So they're not disoriented, and you're not stopping the story in its tracks with just a bunch of weird sounds. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of my Star Wars enthusiasm very much tracks back to alien utterances by Greedo himself.
Awesome. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Lacey
Hey.
from the Resistance broadcast. So I have a 3-year-old Daisy who's obsessed with Nubs. She loves Nubs, thinks it's the funniest thing ever. So one of the big things about being a mom of a young kid is you get to kind of experience kid shows again, all over again from what you loved when you were little.
Yeah.
So my question is, did you have any cartoons that you were drawn to when you were younger that then maybe influenced Nubs or what you do now?
Well, the kind of stuff that I loved watching, it was numerous. I really like the old Looney Tunes cartoons, which it's got a real economy to the storytelling, as I was talking about. I really I liked Scooby Doo a lot, because there's kind of it was like there was a mystery to it. There was always something and I always wanted to, like, there's ghosts and UFOs and things like that. So that had my attention. Johnny Quest, really, uh, that and Land of the Lost, those were like my childhood sci-fis that really captivated me, as well as the old school Star Trek as well. And so that very much carved out a space for this young aspiring actor, because I liked acting a lot. I never wanted to be an actor because I didn't think you could earn a living as an actor. It was always just something fun to do. But there are these versions of acting and performing where it's like, well, you can do acting, but there's like slee stacks and monsters and aliens. It's like I don't
All the
think
fun
anything.
stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff. It's like
Yeah.
I don't see any way to get to that. I don't think I could earn a living doing that. But man, if I could, if I could live in the fantasy world of H.R. Puffin stuff, maybe sing some songs, have a bunch of weird creatures to talk to, that sounds like heaven to me. And I think I'm in heaven now. I think I have found my heaven with, 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 with young Jedi and Star Wars and all of this. It's absolutely just the child in me is screaming for joy with telling these tales and being a part of them. It's such gratifying fun.
Well, it's so fun to watch. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Gustavo.
Hi, Dee. Gustavo
Hey.
from Triad of the Force. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. And thank you for Young Jedi Adventures. Like, I was watching it and I was thinking, like, it would have been great to have, like, this type of Star Wars show when I was growing up.
Oh
And
yeah.
I guess my question stems from the types of Star Wars shows that we have been used to. And as we all here know, like, you're no stranger to Star Wars Galaxy, having played characters in Clone Wars and Rebels, and obviously the Bad Batch, and they've all been tinged with some sort of darkness and maturity in the storytelling based on like what the stories are in those shows. And obviously Young Jedi Adventures is a little more lighthearted and for a different type of audience. So I guess my question is like, how has your approach for this type of Star Wars story and this show been different from your previous Star Wars experiences, and how you prepared for the characters?
Well, to begin with, it feels like Star Wars to me, like it did. I mean, I saw it when I was 13, and I mean, everybody in the world saw that movie again and again. But you could say that was a story originally that started out angled towards a younger audience and towards a younger mindset. In any case, so uh, Star Wars very quickly became something that was much more sophisticated and varied, even starting with Empire Strikes Back, which was part of what was interesting and really artistically impressive, I think, about the way that George Lucas took that series. So, so yes, Star Wars has certainly become much more varied, much more sophisticated. It's built out this whole grand story since the prequels on into what you have playing out now. But for me, going back to do something that's for a younger audience, as we do with Young Jedi, and this is for the first time really specifically angled to preschool, so it's lighter in tone, it's sweeter, it's less peril, less um, the drama of it is dialed back, but it still feels very much like Star Wars to me. It still feels fun, and it still feels relatable and connected and innovative, and it's got lots of great specificity to this wonderful world. This is big adventure to it. It feels of the same universe to me, even though the tone it shifted a little bit, as it does for all the different properties that you have out. Whether you're talking about the Acolyte, or Andor, or Boba Fett, or whatever. I mean, each one kind of takes a different angle, but they all sort of fit together for me as part of Star Wars.
How cool was that? I mean, it was interesting to prepare some of these questions because, like I said, Young Jedi Adventures is a show targeted to a different demographic. So in a way, at when we were preparing these questions, is that balancing act of like how deep do we want to go with these questions for a show that's kind of geared to be more of adventure of the week type of thing with just meaningful and simple lessons for a younger audience. So try to keep that balance between a question that's both fun and engaging, but also has some insight to it. And I think that Dee Bradley did an excellent job at answering them all with kindness and humility, but also with a lot of really, really cool insight that I thought were very, very surprising. A couple of those. So again, I want to really thank Lucasfilm for the opportunity to talk to Dee. I also want to thank to all the other fan creators that were part of this interview for coming up with really cool questions. It's always fun to hear other people's engagement in terms of like how they would ask a lot of these. So it's always fun to see all these people and see how they all engage. But with that, like I said, this was going to be really short and sweet, and hopefully everyone just enjoyed it and just put a smile on your face. And like I said, Young Jedi Adventures just came out this week, August 14th on Disney Plus. I would give it a chance. It's definitely, it's not The Acolyte, it's not Andor, and it's not meant to be. It's definitely a more fun show. But while I was watching it, I remember thinking it would have been really cool to have this kind of show when I was growing up uh, on Disney Junior or Nick Junior or one of these shows. It would have been great to just have a Star Wars show like this geared towards me when I was growing up. So it's kind of fun to see it happen now, and great to now see a new generation engage with Star Wars in a new way, especially in a new era. Because as we have said before, we love the Acolyte and all things High Republic. So really excited to see the adventures of Nubs and company continue. to the Young Jedi Adventures. But I think that'll wrap it up for today. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed this interviews and learned something new from Dee Bradley. But with that, we have been Triad of the Force. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed our content, please make sure to share, like, subscribe, leave a comment. You can find us everywhere where podcasts can be found. Just search Triad of the Force on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever podcasts are. Search Triad of the Force and you'll find us. On social media, we are on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. Most active on Threads nowadays. So just search at Triad of the Force and you will find us. If you want to support us, we have a TeePublic where we have a couple t-shirt designs that we'll definitely appreciate all the support we can get. It really helps boost the equipment so that we can make these episodes the best quality for all of you. But with that, thank you so much. We have been Triad of the Force for Light and Life, and may the Force be with you.